Life is hard. Chaos is always near, and suffering is a guarantee. In a world that often feels confusing, unfair, and overwhelming, we search for direction, something solid to hold on to. 12 Rules for Life is not just a list of principles, it's a deep, honest exploration of what it means to live with purpose, strength, and meaning. These rules are drawn from ancient wisdom, scientific insight, and hard earned experience. They challenge you to take responsibility, speak the truth, face the unknown, and grow stronger through struggle. This book doesn't offer easy comfort, it offers clarity, courage, and a way forward. If you're ready to confront yourself and make your life better, rule by rule, this is where it begins. Rule 1: stand up straight with your shoulders back. There's something about posture, something ancient, something deep, something far older than language or even thought as we know it. Before we ever spoke a single word, we communicated with our bodies, with the way we carried ourselves. And in the animal kingdom, posture is everything. Look at lobsters. When two lobsters confront each other, they battle for dominance. The winner puffs itself up, standing tall, confident, ready for more. The loser shrinks back, huddles down, protecting itself from further defeat. Its body folds in, its spirit drops with it. And then something strange happens. Chemical changes flood its nervous system, altering its very perception of the world. That same circuitry exists in you, in me, in all of us. We're not just minds floating in space, we're bodies in a physical world, and the way we carry our bodies matters. When you slouch, avoid eye contact, lower your voice, and take up less space, your body isn't just reacting to a mood, it's shaping it. You begin to feel smaller, less capable, more hesitant, and more anxious. You begin to feel like prey. And when you feel like prey, the world starts to look like a place full of predators. I've seen this in my clinical practice over and over. People who carry themselves like they're apologizing for existing. People crushed by the weight of their own lives, by shame, by self doubt, by defeat. You can hear it in their voices, see it in their faces, in the way they walk into a room and try not to be noticed. And often their lives reflect that posture: missed opportunities, broken relationships, stagnant careers, and a haunting sense that something better was possible, but always just out of reach. But then something shifts, something simple. They start standing up straight, not in an artificial, forced way, but in a deliberate, conscious decision to stop folding in on themselves. They push their shoulders back, they lift their chins, they look people in the eye, and slowly things begin to change. It doesn't fix everything overnight, but it sets a direction. Their bodies say, I am not a victim. I am not hiding. I am here. I will carry this burden. You see, life is not easy. It's harsh. It's chaotic. Tragedy is guaranteed. Betrayal is possible, and no one escapes suffering. But the posture you take toward life, physically and mentally, determines whether you're crushed by that weight or whether you learn to bear it. When you stand up straight, you align yourself with a deeper truth that while you may not control everything that happens to you, you are responsible for how you face it. This isn't just about appearances. It's not about impressing people or pretending to be something you're not. It's about retraining your body and mind to believe in your own worth, to believe that you have the right to be here, to speak, to move forward, to take your place in the world. And when you do that, when you straighten your spine and square your shoulders, you make yourself stronger. You become someone others can rely on. You signal competence, not just to others, but to yourself. And people notice, the world notices. You begin to find yourself in different conversations as well, treated with more respect, considered more seriously. You start to attract people who are also trying to rise, not just float. You find yourself in places you never thought you belonged and suddenly realize you always did. You just weren't standing tall enough to see it. So start there. Stand up, literally. It seems small, maybe even silly, but it's not. It's symbolic. It's psychological. It's biological. It's the first move in a life where you are no longer passively being pushed around by everything that's wrong or unfair or painful. You are now an active participant in your own story. Stand up straight with your shoulders back. Take that breath. Take that stance. Face the day with your eyes open and your feet planted. You may not win every fight, but you won't be living as though you've already lost. And that is the beginning of transformation. Rule 2: treat yourself like someone you are responsible for helping. There's a fundamental mystery in human behavior, one I encountered again and again in my clinical practice, one that's so common it's almost invisible. People are often kinder to others than they are to themselves. Not just a little kinder, vastly kinder, more attentive, more patient, more willing to forgive. When a friend calls you at 2 a.m., sobbing from a breakup, you answer. When your dog needs medicine, you go to the pharmacy and follow the dosage instructions exactly. When your child is sick, you cancel everything. You nourish them, worry for them, protect them. But when you fall sick, you skip meals, skip sleep, ignore the pain, delay the checkup. You tell yourself it's nothing, that it'll go away, that you don't have time. When you mess up, you don't offer yourself understanding. You pile on self criticism, insult yourself silently, sometimes cruelly. The words you would never say to a friend are the exact ones you whisper internally to yourself. It's strange, isn't it? We act as though we're somehow the exception to our own compassion, that we don't qualify for the same kindness we extend to others, that we don't deserve care unless we've earned it through perfection, discipline, or relentless success. But the truth is simple and profound. You matter just as much as the people you love. Your health matters. Your mind matters. Your pain matters. And your well being isn't a side project, it's your primary responsibility. That's what this rule is about. Imagine that someone placed into your care, a person, fragile, complex, with a long history of struggle, with potential and flaws and untapped strengths, and they said to you, it's your job to help this person thrive. You'd take that job seriously. You'd learn their needs. You'd make sure they had what they required to heal, to grow, to live fully. You wouldn't neglect them. You wouldn't abuse them. You wouldn't allow them to drown in guilt and despair. And yet, that person already exists. That person is you. But somewhere along the line, we learned to doubt our own worth. Maybe it was shame. Maybe it was punishment disguised as discipline. Maybe it was trauma or years of being told explicitly or subtly that our needs were secondary. Maybe we simply absorbed the belief that to help ourselves was selfish, indulgent, weak. So we turned our backs on our own well being and told ourselves we were being strong. But neglect is not strength. Abandoning yourself is not virtue, and it's not sustainable. If you collapse, everyone who depends on you feels the impact. If you're drowning in anxiety, self hatred, burnout, or bitterness, it spills out into your work, your family, your friendships, your dreams, and slowly you erode. You become someone who can't carry others, not because you lack love, but because you refused to carry yourself. The commandment to love your neighbor as yourself implies you must love yourself. It's not a bonus, it's the foundation, because how you treat yourself sets the tone for how you treat the world. If you believe you're worthless, you start to see others through that lens too. If you always sacrifice yourself, you begin to resent those you're sacrificing for. And if you expect perfection from yourself, you will unconsciously expect it from others because you've never learned the gentle art of mercy. But mercy begins at home. So, how do you treat yourself like someone you are responsible for helping? It starts with listening, not just to the noise in your head, but to the deeper voice, the one that whispers when you're alone, the one that tells you what hurts, what you long for, what you fear. That voice often gets buried under distractions and shame, but it's still there. And it's honest. You ask yourself what you need, not what you want in the moment, not what numbs the discomfort, but what you need in order to be whole. That might mean proper sleep, regular meals, exercise. It might mean learning to say no when something violates your values or drains your soul. It might mean going to therapy, forgiving yourself, or choosing to stop chasing approval from people who never truly cared. And yes, it might mean discipline. Real care isn't indulgent. It involves saying, I will do what's best for you, even when it's hard. That's what we do for others. We ask the uncomfortable questions. We insist on better choices. We help them stand up, even when they fall. You must do that for yourself, too. Not with cruelty, but with compassion and courage. Some people worry that if they start taking care of themselves, they'll become selfish. But the opposite is true. The more balanced, rested, and mentally healthy you are, the more capacity you have to give. You stop helping from guilt and start helping from strength. You stop pouring from an empty cup. You stop burning yourself to keep others warm. And the help you give becomes sustainable, honest, free, and powerful. There's nothing noble in being the one person you refuse to care for. You are not your enemy. You are not a mistake. You are a life to be guarded, guided, and nurtured. Not later. Not when you deserve it. Now. So stand beside yourself. Speak gently to yourself. Plan for your future like it matters, because it does. Choose what strengthens you. Fight for your well-being like you would for your closest friend, because you are responsible for your life, and that life is worth protecting. Treat yourself like someone you are responsible for helping, because no one else can do it for you, and because you are worth it, even when you don't believe it yet. Rule 3. Make friends with people who want the best for you. Human beings are social creatures. From the very beginning of our existence, our survival has depended on our ability to form and maintain relationships, families, tribes, communities. We are wired to belong, to connect, to mirror the people around us. And because of that, the people we spend time with shape us far more deeply than we usually admit. They influence not only our behaviors, but our beliefs, our ambitions, our values, even our identities. You rise or fall with your group. Yet many people choose their friends passively, by accident, or based on convenience. Who they sit next to in class, who they grew up around, who shares their habits, their weaknesses, their addictions. And often we stay in these friendships out of a kind of emotional inertia. Well, we've known each other forever. Or worse, at least they're there. But here's the harsh truth. Not everyone in your life wants you to succeed. That sounds harsh, even paranoid, but it's true. There are people who, for all kinds of reasons, will quietly root for your failure. Not always maliciously, sometimes unconsciously, because your success reminds them of their own stagnation. Because if you start improving your life, it forces them to confront their own lack of progress. Your ambition, your growth, your discipline, your rising standards, they don't just inspire others. They also threaten the people who are committed, consciously or not, to staying exactly where they are. I've seen it so many times. A young man decides to quit drinking, to get serious about his health, maybe even go back to school, and suddenly his drinking buddies start teasing him. What, you think you're better than us now? A woman decides to leave a toxic relationship or set firmer boundaries, and her so-called friends start accusing her of being too full of herself. Not because she's doing something wrong, but because she's no longer playing by the rules of shared dysfunction. Her self-respect disrupts the code they all silently agreed to follow. Let's stay broken together. This is what people don't understand about loyalty. It's not always a virtue. Loyalty to a destructive friendship, to a damaging group, to a person who constantly pulls you backward. That is not noble. That is betrayal of yourself. Staying connected to someone who consistently sabotages your progress doesn't mean you're being kind. It means you're letting fear and guilt guide your decisions instead of clarity and courage. There's another side to this too, one that's even more dangerous. Sometimes we choose people who don't want the best for us because we don't want the best for ourselves. We feel unworthy of respect, of support, of true friendship. So we attach ourselves to others who reinforce that internal script. They treat us badly and we stay because deep down we think we deserve it. Or we fear that if we leave them, we'll have no one. Or we're terrified of the loneliness that comes with saying, I need better than this. But better does exist. There are people who will want the best for you, not just in words, but in action. People who won't mock your growth. People who will encourage your efforts, celebrate your progress, and stand by you during failure. Not because it benefits them, but because they care. Because they see your potential, even when you don't. Those are the people you must seek. Not just for support, but because those are the relationships that shape a meaningful life. Friends who want the best for you will challenge you, not to hurt you, but to wake you up. They'll tell you when you're lying to yourself. They'll call you out when you're being self-destructive. They'll remind you who you are when you forget. And they'll never ask you to be less than you could be, just so they feel more comfortable. Building friendships like that takes time. It takes courage. It often means walking away from people you've known for years, people you still care about, but who no longer help you grow. And that hurts. There's no way around it. Letting go of someone who's familiar, even toxic, is like pulling out a piece of your own history. But it's necessary. because you cannot build a better future while dragging the dead weight of a broken past. You don't owe everyone access to your life. You don't owe your time, your energy, or your loyalty to people who repeatedly show you that they don't want you to thrive. Forgive them, wish them well, but don't let them anchor you in the mud when you're trying to reach the shore. Instead, move toward those who are also trying to grow. People who struggle, yes, but who fight, who take responsibility, who celebrate your courage instead of mocking it, who want to see you rise not because they need something from you, but because they believe you're worth rising. That kind of friendship is rare, but it's real. And when you find it, when you build a circle of people who truly want the best for you, it changes everything. You begin to expect more from life, you begin to aim higher, you start speaking more truthfully, thinking more clearly, living more honestly, because the people around you won't let you sink into your old self. They'll lift you just as you lift them, and together you become something more than either of you could be alone. So choose carefully, choose with intention. Surround yourself with people who make you stronger, not weaker. People who want to see you free, not trapped. People who believe in your potential more than your excuses. And most importantly, be that kind of person yourself. Because the best way to find good friends is to become one. Make friends with people who want the best for you. Your life will rise or fall to the level of the people you allow into it. Rule 4. Compare yourself to who you were yesterday, not to who someone else is today. There's a cruel trick the mind plays in modern life, one that has intensified in our hyper-connected, hyper-competitive digital world. The illusion that someone out there is living the perfect life while you're just barely holding it together. Every day you wake up, check your phone, and within seconds, you're flooded with images and stories of success. Someone buying a house, getting married, building a six-figure business, publishing their novel, traveling the world, sculpting the perfect body. And there you are, staring at your screen, still in bed, your hair a mess, your plans foggy, your motivation low, and it hits you. I'm not good enough. I'm so far behind. Why even try? That's the trap. The trap of external comparison. It's a psychological and spiritual poison, slowly undermining your confidence, your ambition, your sense of worth. It tells you that success is a race and you're already losing. It makes you believe that unless you're the best, you're nothing. It creates a cruel scale where you're constantly weighing your self-worth against strangers. But let me tell you something plainly. That scale is a lie. You don't know the whole story behind the curated posts, behind the confident smiles and shiny achievements. You don't see the failures they hide, the sacrifices they made, the insecurities they carry, the masks they wear. You see only the end product, not the blood, sweat, and breakdowns behind it. And more importantly, you're not even on the same road. You're living a completely different life with different challenges, different responsibilities, different starting points. So why would you measure your worth using someone else's ruler? You wouldn't tell a 5-year-old to feel ashamed for not knowing calculus. You wouldn't call a seed a failure because it hasn't become a tree, and yet you do that to yourself every day by comparing your current chapter to someone else's highlight reel. That's not honesty. That's cruelty. There is a better way, a clearer path, one rooted in truth, not illusion, one that recognizes where you are, who you were, and who you might become. Compare yourself to who you were yesterday, not to who someone else is today. This is not just advice, it's a way of living, a psychological discipline, a moral stance. It means that the only person you have the right and the responsibility to compete with is yourself, because you are the only constant in your life. You know your past, you know your struggles, you know your patterns, your fears, your strengths, and only you can know if you've truly taken a step forward. Maybe yesterday you lied. Today, you told the truth. That's a win. Maybe yesterday you gave in to anger. Today you paused and chose patience. That's progress. Maybe yesterday you avoided the work. Today you did 15 minutes. That's movement. These small improvements may seem insignificant, but they're not. Because progress is not built from giant leaps. It's built from consistent, honest, deliberate steps, one after another. And those steps taken daily compound. They build discipline. They build confidence. They build character. When you live by this rule, your focus shifts. You stop chasing someone else's definition of success and start crafting your own. You stop seeing people as threats and start seeing them as mirrors, reminders of what is possible, not proof of your inadequacy. You begin to find joy in your own pace, your own process, your own journey. This rule also invites something rare and essential in today's world: self compassion. When you compare yourself only to your past, you allow yourself to be human. You allow growth to be slow. You accept that failure is part of the process, not evidence that you should quit. You learn that it's okay to be flawed, as long as you're moving forward, learning, adjusting, trying again. That doesn't mean letting yourself off the hook. It means holding yourself to a real standard, a standard of improvement, not perfection. It means asking yourself every day, what can I do just a little bit better than I did yesterday? Can I be more honest, more organized, more kind? Can I face what I've been avoiding? Can I carry my burden just a little more willingly? And the beauty of this mindset is that it works in every area of life, in your relationships, in your career, in your health, in your creativity, in your spiritual or intellectual life. You stop trying to be everything at once. You stop pretending to be someone you're not, and instead you become more you, steadily, purposefully, consciously. You begin to look at yesterday not as an enemy, but as a teacher. You examine it. You ask, what did I do well? What did I mess up? Where did I avoid responsibility? What can I carry better today? And then you act, not because you hate who you were, but because you respect yourself enough to keep growing. This mindset also helps you endure difficult seasons. When life falls apart, when you're grieving, when you're struggling with mental health, when you're overwhelmed, this rule gives you something solid to hold on to. It tells you, just be a little better today, even if that means just getting out of bed, even if that means just breathing through the pain, even if that means not giving up, because some days that's enough. And on those days, enough is everything. So don't waste your energy comparing your worst days to someone else's best. Don't beat yourself up for not being where others are. Don't believe the lie that your pace is too slow. You're not in their race. You're not them. You're you. And your only job is to be a little better than the person you were yesterday. That's a path you can walk every day for the rest of your life. And if you do, you'll discover something remarkable. Not just progress, but peace. Not just success, but self-respect. Not just improvement, but meaning. Compare yourself to who you were yesterday, not to who someone else is today, because that's the only comparison that will ever lead you forward. Rule 5. Do not let your children do anything that makes you dislike them. Parenting is arguably one of the most challenging responsibilities anyone can face. It's a task filled with joy, love, frustration, uncertainty, and sacrifice. At its core, parenting is about shaping another human being into a person capable of thriving in the complex, often unforgiving world. This requires more than just affection or indulgence. It requires clear boundaries, discipline, and guidance. The fifth rule drives this home with brutal honesty. Do not let your children do anything that makes you dislike them. That may sound harsh at first. You might think, how can I dislike my own child? Shouldn't I love them unconditionally? The truth is, you probably do love them deeply, but love alone is not enough. Love without limits can be dangerous. It can allow behaviors that foster resentment, disrespect, and chaos to grow unchecked. And when a parent consistently dislikes their child's behavior, it undermines the parent-child relationship, sows confusion, and damages the child's development. Children naturally push boundaries. It's part of how they learn about the world and themselves. They test limits, they experiment with power, they throw tantrums, they lie, they steal, they are selfish and defiant at times. This is normal. But the critical question is, how do parents respond? If parents do not respond or respond inconsistently, these small acts become entrenched habits and eventually character flaws. When a child behaves in a way that makes you, parent, guardian, caretaker, dislike them, that behavior is a red flag. It means the child is developing traits or habits that will alienate not only you, but others as well. If left uncorrected, such behavior will grow into more serious problems in adolescence and adulthood: chronic dishonesty, lack of empathy, entitlement, inability to take responsibility, and a persistent failure to respect others' boundaries. This rule underscores the importance of responsible discipline. Discipline isn't punishment. It isn't cruelty or domination. It's teaching children what is acceptable and what is not. It's a way of training them to regulate their impulses, manage emotions, and act in socially constructive ways. Without discipline, children don't learn self control. They learn that they can act however they want, regardless of the consequences for themselves or others. Consistent discipline helps children understand that their actions have consequences. If they lie, there are consequences. If they hit, there are consequences. If they break rules, there are consequences. These lessons are essential to developing a child's conscience and moral compass. But discipline must be consistent, fair, and loving. Mixed messages, where children are punished one day and rewarded for the same behavior the next, create confusion and anxiety. Children need predictability. They need to trust that the rules are firm and just, and that boundaries are not arbitrary or malicious. Setting these boundaries often leads to conflict. Children will push back, resist, sometimes rebel. It can be exhausting and emotionally draining for parents to maintain their resolve. It can feel easier to give in, to avoid tears, tantrums, or arguments. But giving in is a betrayal, not just of the child, but of the future they deserve. The cost of not enforcing boundaries is high. Children who are never taught to control themselves and respect limits will grow into adults who struggle with relationships, employment, and their own emotions. They may have difficulty with authority, with empathy, and with facing life's inevitable challenges. Furthermore, parents who do not enforce limits often find themselves growing resentful and disconnected from their children. When your child's behavior repeatedly provokes frustration, anger, or even disgust, it's hard to feel close or loving toward them. The parent child bond suffers, creating distance and dysfunction. But this rule also reminds parents to be introspective. It challenges them to face uncomfortable questions. Why do I tolerate behaviors I dislike? Am I inconsistent? Am I afraid to set limits because of my own past or fears? Am I confusing love with indulgence? True love requires courage. It means doing what's best for the child, even when it's difficult or unpopular. It means teaching them respect, not just for others, but for themselves. It means helping them develop habits and character traits that will make them likable, trustworthy, and successful. This rule is not about raising perfect children. They do not exist. It's about raising children who have the tools to navigate life well, who can control impulses, communicate respectfully, take responsibility for their actions, and build meaningful relationships. These qualities make a child someone others want to be around, and ultimately make them capable of building a good life. Parents must also recognize that discipline is a form of care. When you say no or enforce consequences, you are not rejecting your child. You are protecting them. You are setting them on a path where they learn how to be accountable and self sufficient. You are teaching them that their actions matter and that they are responsible for how they affect the world. Of course, discipline must be balanced with warmth, affection, and support. Children need to know they are loved, not for their perfection, but for who they are. But love without limits is not love. It is negligence. So take this rule seriously. Watch for the behaviors in your child that cause you frustration, resentment, or dislike. Address them early and consistently. Teach your child that their behavior matters, not just to you, but to everyone around them. Do this with patience, firmness, and compassion. Because in the end, this rule is about something far greater than obedience. It's about building the foundation for a life where your child can thrive, not just survive. A life where they are respected, loved, and able to form strong, healthy relationships. A life where they can look in the mirror and like the person they see. Do not let your children do anything that makes you dislike them. It is one of the hardest, most important responsibilities you will ever accept, and it is one of the greatest gifts you can give your child and yourself. Rule 6. Set your house in perfect order before you criticize the world. It's a natural human tendency to look outward when life feels overwhelming or unjust. The world feels broken, unfair, and hostile. Governments betray their citizens, societies crumble under their own contradictions, people behave selfishly and cruelly. It's easy and even comforting to blame external forces for your problems. You're surrounded by noise telling you who to blame: the system, your boss, your neighbors, your country, even strangers on the internet. The world is a mess, and it's tempting to vent your frustration by railing against it. But here is a hard truth that few want to admit. Before you criticize the world, set your own house in perfect order. This is no polite suggestion or philosophical nicety. It's a fundamental principle, an ethical imperative. Why? Because your personal integrity and responsibility are the foundation of your moral authority. If your own life is riddled with chaos, disorder in your habits, broken relationships, neglected duties, then your complaints about the world are not only ineffective, they are hypocritical. Imagine a man whose home is a wreck, cluttered with dirty dishes, laundry piled high, bills unpaid, commitments ignored. This man stands on a soapbox, loudly condemning corruption in government, inequality in society, or injustice in the world. Would his words carry weight? Would you listen? More likely, you'd see him as lacking credibility, someone who has not yet mastered even the smallest corner of his own life, yet expects to fix the universe. Your personal life is your primary sphere of control. The way you manage yourself, your home, and your responsibilities sets the tone for everything else. When you tolerate disorder within, it reflects on your ability to engage meaningfully with the larger problems around you. This rule demands radical honesty. It calls you to look unflinchingly at your own life and confront the areas where you have allowed chaos to creep in. Perhaps it's your physical space, an unkempt room, or disorganized belongings. Maybe it's your finances, unpaid debts, unpaid taxes, mismanaged money. Or your relationships, strains from neglect, unresolved conflicts, harsh words left unsaid. Perhaps it's your health, poor diet, lack of exercise, disrupted sleep patterns. Or your character, lies told, promises broken, anger harbored. Most of all, it demands that you stop making excuses. It means no longer blaming others for your shortcomings or failures. It means taking full responsibility for your part in the disorder you live with. You are not merely a passive victim of circumstance. You are an active agent capable of change. Setting your house in order doesn't require dramatic gestures or instant transformation. It starts with small, deliberate steps. Clean your room, make your bed every morning, pay your bills promptly, and keep track of your finances. Mend damaged relationships by speaking honestly and forgiving sincerely. Speak the truth even when it's uncomfortable. Manage your time wisely. Commit to your duties and promises. Care for your body with regular sleep, nourishing food, and physical activity. Each of these actions builds strength, discipline, and integrity. They create order where there was disorder, stability where there was chaos. Through them, you reclaim control over your life and your future. You stop feeling like a helpless victim and start acting as a responsible individual. The journey to order within is neither easy nor quick. It's often humbling and painful. You must face your own flaws and failures. You might encounter resistance from others, but especially from yourself. Old habits cling tightly. Comfort zones resist change. You will stumble. You may feel overwhelmed. But the persistence in this work leads to true empowerment. When your personal affairs are in order, your criticisms of the world gain legitimacy. Your voice becomes credible because it comes from a place of integrity and self mastery. Instead of empty complaints, you offer constructive insights. Instead of bitterness, you bring wisdom and clarity. Instead of chaos, you offer order and solutions. Moreover, by setting your house in order, you inspire others. People listen when you live by example. You become a source of stability and strength in a world too often marked by disorder and despair. Your life becomes a testament to the possibility of transformation and responsibility. This rule also teaches humility. It reminds us that before trying to change the vast, complex world, we must first change ourselves. There is power in this personal transformation, power that radiates outward and contributes to broader change. So before you criticize the flaws in society, before you rant about politics, inequality, or injustice, pause. Turn your gaze inward. Examine your own life honestly. Identify the areas where disorder reigns. Take responsibility. Start the hard work of making your own world orderly, reliable, and just. It's a lifelong process, a daily commitment to integrity and self-improvement. But it is the foundation on which all meaningful change is built. Because the world cannot be fixed until enough individuals have set their own houses in perfect order. Only then can your voice be a force for true progress. Only then can you stand as an example, a beacon, and a leader. Only then can you engage with the world, not as a helpless victim, but as a capable creator. Set your house in perfect order before you criticize the world. That is where true power begins. Rule 7: pursue what is meaningful, not what is expedient. Every day, life presents you with countless choices. Some are straightforward, others complicated. Some are easy and tempting, others challenging and demanding. But underlying nearly every decision is a fundamental question. Are you chasing what is meaningful, or are you settling for what is merely expedient? The distinction is profound and life altering. The expedient path is seductive because it offers immediate relief, quick satisfaction, and the avoidance of discomfort or responsibility. It is the way of least resistance, the shortcut, the escape hatch. Whether it's indulging in fleeting pleasures, avoiding difficult conversations, procrastinating on important work, or making compromises that betray your deeper values, the expedient path asks only for what feels good or easy right now. But expediency is a fool's bargain. It offers no real nourishment for the soul or lasting happiness. It leads to chaos, regret, and a hollow emptiness beneath the surface of your life. When you choose expediency repeatedly, you may feel momentary comfort, but you sacrifice long-term well-being, growth, and meaning. By contrast, the meaningful path asks for something more. It requires courage to face hardship, discipline to delay gratification, and integrity to act in accordance with your values, even when it's inconvenient. Pursuing meaning often means carrying burdens willingly, sacrificing immediate pleasures, and making choices that align with a vision of a better self or a better world. It's not easy. It demands patience, persistence, and the willingness to endure suffering when necessary. Meaning arises when you voluntarily take on responsibility. Responsibility for yourself, your family, your community, and your principles. It emerges when you commit to goals that transcend immediate gain and connect you to something greater than yourself: truth, love, creativity, growth, justice. It is found in the hard work of building relationships, developing your skills, serving others, and striving to be a better person each day. Meaning gives life coherence and purpose. It transforms chaos into order because you orient yourself towards something enduring and worthwhile. It makes suffering bearable because it is suffered for a cause that matters. It lifts you above the random flux of pleasure and pain and anchors you in values that give your existence weight and direction. This is why choosing meaning over expediency is not just a moral imperative, but a practical necessity for a fulfilling life. When you chase expediency, you are trapped in cycles of short-term thinking and reactive behavior. Your life becomes fragmented, your spirit restless, your relationships shallow. When you pursue meaning, you build resilience, deepen your character, and cultivate a sense of peace and fulfillment even amidst adversity. The cultural forces around you push constantly toward expediency: easy consumption, instant gratification, shortcuts to success. Social media glorifies effortless pleasure and masks the work behind genuine accomplishment. Advertisements promise happiness through products rather than effort or responsibility. Peer pressure encourages avoidance of discomfort rather than confrontation of truth. Resisting these forces requires vigilance and self-awareness. It requires that you continually ask yourself, is this choice serving my deeper values? Is this action building the life I want? Am I willing to bear the cost because this matters? Sometimes the meaningful choice means saying no to temptation, standing up for what's right, or enduring hardship when it would be easier to give up. Sometimes it means sacrificing comfort to take care of others, or investing time in learning rather than escaping. Sometimes it means facing painful truths about yourself and making difficult changes. This path is not glamorous. It is often lonely. It can be exhausting. But it leads to a life that, when you look back on it, you can truly respect. A life where you know your efforts mattered, your struggles had purpose, and your existence contributed to something greater than yourself. Pursuing meaning does not guarantee constant happiness or ease. In fact, it often means facing suffering head-on. But it guarantees that your life will be rich in significance and deeply aligned with who you are and who you want to become. In contrast, pursuing what is expedient offers temporary pleasure and avoidance, but ultimately leads to regret, fragmentation, and a sense that life passed you by without real fulfillment. So make the hard choice every day. Choose the meaningful over the easy, the long term over the immediate, the right over the convenient. Build your life on aims that demand your best and reflect your highest values. This is the path to purpose, strength, and true happiness. Pursue what is meaningful, not what is expedient. It is the way to build a life worth living, one that can withstand suffering, inspire others, and leave a lasting legacy. Rule 8, tell the truth, or at least don't lie. Truth is the cornerstone of a meaningful, functional life. It's the foundation of trust, the basis of honest relationships, and the essential ingredient for genuine self-understanding. Yet, despite its importance, telling the truth remains one of the hardest things a person can do. It requires courage, vulnerability, and a relentless commitment to reality, especially when reality is harsh or uncomfortable. This rule is straightforward in wording, but profound in depth. Tell the truth, or at least don't lie. Lying, on the other hand, is deceptively easy, but deeply corrosive. Every lie you tell, whether it's a large deception or a small, harmless falsehood, twists reality, creating a gap between what is and what is perceived. Lies distort your understanding of the world and yourself, and they undermine the trust that binds people together. When you lie, you weave a tangled web that demands constant maintenance. One lie begets another, trapping you in a cycle of deception that pulls you further away from authenticity and peace of mind. It's not just others you deceive when you lie, you deceive yourself. Self-deception is perhaps the most dangerous form of lying because it blinds you to your flaws, mistakes, and limitations. It prevents you from learning and growing because you refuse to confront uncomfortable truths. When you deny reality, you make decisions based on illusions and falsehoods, setting yourself up for failure and disappointment. Some lies seem small or even justifiable. White lies to avoid hurting feelings. Minor exaggerations to impress, evasions to dodge responsibility. But these small lies chip away at your integrity just as surely as the big ones. They train you to avoid truth, to take the easy way out, and to value convenience over honesty. Once you begin lying, even in the smallest ways, you weaken the very foundation of your character and make it easier to slip into more serious dishonesty. Choosing to tell the truth is a courageous act. It means standing in the light of reality, no matter how harsh or painful it might be. It means acknowledging your mistakes and limitations without denial or excuse. It means speaking honestly to others, even when honesty risks conflict, rejection, or discomfort. It means resisting the urge to hide behind comforting illusions or convenient half-truths. Living truthfully also requires humility. It forces you to face your vulnerabilities and insecurities head-on. The ego, which craves control and admiration, will resist this exposure, but embracing vulnerability opens the door to authentic connection and personal growth. When you tell the truth, you invite others to do the same, building relationships based on trust and respect rather than pretense and fear. Lying, conversely, breeds isolation. It forces you to live behind a mask, constantly managing appearances and hiding your true self. This act of deception is exhausting and alienating. It saps emotional and mental energy, creating inner conflict and anxiety. Lies fracture your sense of identity because you are no longer aligned with reality or your own conscience. Moreover, telling the truth is not just about speaking honestly to others. It's about being honest with yourself. Self-honesty is a demanding and ongoing process. It requires deep introspection and the willingness to confront painful aspects of your personality and life. It means recognizing your fears, desires, prejudices, and failures without flinching. Without this inner truthfulness, personal growth stalls and life becomes a hollow performance. It's important to clarify that telling the truth does not mean being brutally honest in a way that harms others unnecessarily. Truthfulness should be balanced with kindness, tact, and empathy. The goal is sincerity, not cruelty. You can be honest and compassionate at the same time. Truth brings order to chaos. It aligns your beliefs and actions with reality, allowing you to make sound decisions and build meaningful relationships. It empowers you to take responsibility for your life rather than blaming others or hiding from your failures. It gives you a clear foundation on which to build your character and your future. This rule demands discipline and vigilance. The temptation to lie or distort truth is constant, especially when faced with difficult emotions or situations. But the path of truthfulness, though challenging, leads to freedom. It releases you from the burden of maintaining falsehoods and the fear of exposure. In the end, living truthfully is an act of bravery and integrity. It is a commitment to face the world and yourself honestly, even when it's uncomfortable. It is the prerequisite for authentic connection, meaningful work, and a life that you can respect. So commit to telling the truth, or at least don't lie. It is one of the most difficult and transformative things you can do. Because a life lived on the foundation of truth is a life worth living. Rule 9. Assume that the person you are listening to might know something you don't. Listening is a skill so fundamental to human connection and understanding that it often goes unnoticed until it fails. Most people think they listen well, but true listening is rare and difficult. It requires more than just hearing sounds or waiting for your turn to speak. Real listening demands patience, openness, humility, and active engagement. It's a commitment to genuinely understand another person's perspective. This rule asks you to adopt a transformative mindset. Assume that the person you are listening to might know something you don't. In today's world, conversation often turns into a contest. People listen not to learn or understand, but to prepare their next argument, defend their beliefs, or win a debate. Instead of dialogue, we get noise, each person pushing their viewpoint without openness to others. This approach narrows your perspective, strengthens your biases, and isolates you in mental echo chambers where your opinions are never challenged. It turns what could be enriching exchanges into battles of ego. But imagine if you approached every conversation as if you were a student, curious, humble, eager to learn. What if, regardless of who you're talking to, whether a close friend, a family member, a stranger, or someone holding radically different views, you genuinely believed they possessed knowledge, experiences, or insights that you have yet to grasp? This simple yet profound assumption shifts the entire dynamic of communication. When you listen with the belief that others might know something you don't, your attention deepens. You listen more carefully, more respectfully. You silence the urge to interrupt or respond immediately. Instead, you open your mind to new ideas and perspectives, even when they challenge your current beliefs. This is not about blindly accepting everything you hear. It's about intellectual humility, recognizing that no one has a monopoly on truth and that your knowledge is inherently limited. The world is vast, complex, and constantly changing. Every person you meet carries a unique piece of this puzzle, shaped by different experiences, cultures, and understandings. By embracing this mindset, you broaden your worldview and avoid the rigidity of dogma. You keep your mind flexible and receptive to growth. Humility is the cornerstone of this rule. To assume that others might know something you don't means admitting that you don't have all the answers. This can be uncomfortable because it challenges the ego, which thrives on certainty, control, and superiority. Yet, humility is liberating. It frees you from the need to always be right and opens the door to genuine learning and transformation. Listening with openness also profoundly improves your relationships. When people feel heard and respected, trust blossoms. Conversations become more honest and meaningful. Conflicts diminish because the intent shifts from winning to understanding. This fosters connection, empathy, and cooperation, creating bonds that withstand disagreement. Moreover, this attitude turns life itself into a continuous education. Every interaction becomes an opportunity to learn something new, to rethink assumptions, and to deepen wisdom. You grow comfortable with uncertainty and complexity, and you develop the intellectual courage to question yourself and others thoughtfully. Practically speaking, adopting this rule means changing how you engage in conversations. It means resisting the urge to interrupt or mentally prepare a response while someone else is speaking. It means asking sincere questions that seek clarity, not traps. It means embracing silence and reflection. It means acknowledging when you don't know something and being willing to say so without shame. Assuming that others might know something you don't is not a sign of weakness or insecurity. Quite the opposite, it demonstrates strength, maturity, and confidence. It shows you trust yourself enough to hold your views lightly and be open to change. It signals a commitment to truth and growth over pride and defensiveness. In a world fractured by polarization, misinformation, and misunderstandings, this rule is more important than ever. It is a vital tool for building empathy, fostering collaboration, and cultivating collective wisdom. When we listen with genuine openness, we break down barriers and build bridges across differences. Assume that the person you are listening to might know something you don't. By embracing this rule, you open yourself to continuous learning, enrich your relationships, and move closer to deeper truth. It is not merely a communication skill, but a way of life, a pathway to wisdom, connection, and meaningful existence. Rule 10. Be precise in your speech. Language is the foundation of thought, the bridge between the inner world of ideas and the external reality we all share. Every word you speak carries weight, shaping not only how others perceive you, but also how you perceive yourself. Yet many people speak carelessly, using vague expressions, ambiguous phrases, or misleading statements that cloud meaning rather than clarify it. This rule commands, be precise in your speech. Precision in language is precision in thought, and precision in thought is essential for order, understanding, and responsibility. When you speak precisely, you confront reality directly. You name what is wrong, what is feared, what is desired, and what is hoped for in clear and exact terms. This clarity forces you to understand your own mind better, because you cannot articulate what you do not truly comprehend. In other words, your words become a tool for self-reflection and self-discipline. Imprecise speech, by contrast, enables chaos. Vague statements like everything is bad or people never listen are sweeping generalizations that obscure specific problems and make solutions impossible. Such language fosters helplessness and frustration because it fails to identify actionable issues. Ambiguity breeds misunderstanding. When others cannot grasp what you really mean, confusion and conflict arise naturally. Being precise means stripping away excess words that don't add meaning and cutting through cliches that dilute your message. It requires you to speak only what you believe to be true and what you have thought through carefully. It demands courage because to be precise is to be vulnerable, exposing your genuine thoughts and feelings rather than hiding behind vague platitudes or evasions. Consider the difference between saying, I'm upset, and saying, I feel hurt and disrespected when you interrupt me during meetings. The first is general and invites speculation. The second is specific and opens a path to understanding and resolution. Precision enables effective communication by focusing attention on exact issues, making it easier for both parties to address problems constructively. Precise speech builds trust. People respect those who are clear and honest because it removes uncertainty. When you speak precisely, others know where you stand and what you expect. This clarity reduces conflicts rooted in miscommunication and strengthens relationships by fostering mutual understanding. Moreover, precision in speech is tied to personal responsibility. When you articulate your thoughts and feelings accurately, you take ownership of them. You stop blaming vague external forces and instead identify your role in the situation. This empowers you to act rather than remain a passive victim of circumstances. This rule also improves your ability to think critically. Language shapes thought. Sloppy language breeds sloppy thinking. Precise speech demands precise thinking, breaking complex ideas into understandable parts, examining assumptions, and articulating them clearly. This mental discipline helps you avoid misunderstandings and faulty reasoning. Practically, being precise means paying close attention to your language choices. Avoid using words whose meanings you do not fully grasp. Replace emotional exaggerations with clear descriptions. Use concrete terms instead of abstract generalities. Speak about your own experiences and perceptions rather than making unfounded claims about others' motives or intentions. It also means listening carefully and asking clarifying questions. When you don't understand something fully, seek precision rather than assuming or guessing. This mutual precision in communication creates a shared reality in which meaningful dialogue and cooperation become possible. Being precise is not about pedantry or perfectionism. It's about striving for clarity and honesty because your words shape your reality. Imprecise speech is often a defense mechanism, a way to avoid conflict or discomfort. But this avoidance leads to long-term problems because unspoken issues fester and misunderstandings grow. Embracing precision in speech is a lifelong practice requiring mindfulness and courage. It means slowing down to choose your words deliberately and being willing to face uncomfortable truths. Over time, this habit reshapes how you think, feel, and relate to the world. In sum, be precise in your speech because clear words create clear thoughts, clear actions, and clear relationships. It is one of the most powerful tools you have to bring order to your life and the world around you. Rule 11: do not bother children when they are skateboarding. There's something raw and powerful about watching a child skateboard. It's not just about the board beneath their feet or the tricks they attempt. It's about witnessing a young person grappling with fear, failure, and triumph in real time. Skateboarding, in its essence, is a lesson in courage, risk, and resilience. When a child steps onto that board, they're engaging in an act of bravery that most adults have forgotten or buried beneath caution and routine. Children do not learn strength or competence by playing it safe. They learn it by pushing boundaries, risking failure, and confronting danger head on. Skateboarding is a perfect metaphor for this process. Each time a child launches off a curb or attempts a new trick, they are testing their limits and facing the real possibility of falling. These falls are not failures, they are the essential ingredients of learning. Every scrape, bruise, and stumble teaches a child about balance, perseverance, and their own physical and emotional limits. These experiences build their confidence and prepare them for the uncertainties of life. To fall and to get up again is the foundation of resilience. Yet, as adults, the first impulse is often to protect, to shield children from harm, discomfort, and failure. Interrupting, warning, or forbidding risky activities may come from love and concern, but overprotection can do more harm than good. It sends the message that the world is too dangerous to navigate on your own, that mistakes must be avoided at all costs, and that failure is something shameful. When children are not allowed to take risks, they miss out on vital lessons. They do not learn how to assess danger, how to manage fear, or how to recover from setbacks. Instead, they grow up with a fragile sense of security that breaks under pressure. This fragility can manifest in many ways: fear of trying new things, low frustration tolerance, anxiety, or a lack of confidence in their own abilities. Overprotected children may struggle to cope with the unpredictability and challenges of adult life because they never had the chance to develop the tools they needed during childhood. Interfering when children skateboard often stunts emotional and psychological growth. It teaches them to be cautious to a fault and risk averse, which limits creativity, independence, and the development of personal strength. Skateboarding is more than just a physical activity. It is a complex, demanding challenge that teaches self control, focus, and courage. It requires learning how to balance, how to read the environment, and how to respond quickly to change. It forces children to pay attention to their bodies and their surroundings. Beyond the physical, skateboarding is an emotional journey. It teaches children how to face fear, how to handle embarrassment when they fall, and how to celebrate progress no matter how small. It encourages persistence in the face of repeated failure. When a child lands a difficult trick after countless falls, the sense of accomplishment is profound. It is a victory over doubt and fear, and it builds a sense of mastery and empowerment that extends into all areas of life. Adults must trust the natural developmental process. Children are wired to explore, experiment, and learn through experience. They have an innate drive to test their limits. Rather than micromanaging or intervening unnecessarily, adults should create safe environments for these explorations, but then allow children the freedom to take risks and learn from their own successes and failures. Allowing children to skateboard without constant interference means allowing them to experience real consequences and learn responsibility. It means accepting that some falls and mistakes are necessary and beneficial. This does not mean ignoring safety altogether. Reasonable precautions, wearing helmets, skating in safe areas are important, but safety measures should not be used as an excuse to eliminate all risk. Eliminating risk eliminates the opportunity to learn how to handle risk. The goal is not to protect children from every possible harm, but to prepare them for the inevitable challenges of life. By letting children take risks like skateboarding, they build the mental toughness, problem-solving skills, and independence needed as adults. Every fall from a skateboard is a lesson in courage. It's a lesson in persistence. When a child wipes out but gets back on the board, They learn that failure is temporary and effort is worthwhile. This mindset is essential in every aspect of life, from school challenges to social relationships to career setbacks. Without opportunities to fail safely in childhood, children may not develop the resilience necessary to thrive later. Sometimes the best support is to step back and allow them to face the world with their own strength and courage. Let them fall. Let them get up. Let them keep skating. Rule 12: pet a cat when you encounter one on the street. Life is suffering. That may sound like a bleak way to begin, but it is one of the oldest truths in human existence, echoed in the wisdom of ancient traditions, from the Buddhists who speak of dukkha to the Christians who bear the image of the suffering Christ. Everyone at some point finds themselves face to face with pain they cannot fix, grief they cannot escape, and chaos they cannot control. And often, this suffering arrives not as a sharp wound, but as a slow, grinding erosion of everything you thought was stable, fair, or deserved. I learned this firsthand through my daughter's long and painful illness. She was a bright, determined young woman whose body became the site of relentless torment. We watched her suffer as doctors failed to offer solutions and treatments failed to bring relief. As her father, I was confronted with an unbearable truth. I could not make it better. Not with all my knowledge, not with all my strength. I had to watch, to support, to endure. During that time, days became heavy. The future, once filled with ambition and purpose, seemed like a hallway without end, dark, uncertain, terrifying. There were moments when despair sat heavily on my chest and I wondered how I would go on. And yet, amid all of that, life offered me, quietly, unexpectedly, small moments of stillness, of grace. One afternoon, walking in my neighborhood, my head full of worry and helpless thoughts, I saw a cat sitting on a brick wall. It looked at me, not anxiously, not with judgment, but with calm indifference. I paused, reached out, and scratched behind its ears. The cat purred, leaned into my hand, and then leapt down and disappeared. That moment lasted perhaps 30 seconds, but I was changed, if only briefly. I had been pulled back into the present. I had experienced, in the middle of overwhelming suffering, something pure and peaceful. That's what this rule is about. When I say, pet a cat when you encounter one on the street, I'm not offering a quaint distraction or a whimsical instruction. I am speaking of the necessity, yes, necessity, of noticing the small good things that life still offers, even when everything else is going wrong. In the darkest hours, it is the smallest lights that matter most. The cat is a symbol for those lights. We spend our lives chasing meaning, struggling with burdens, and trying to impose order on the chaos of existence. But the chaos doesn't stop. People die, dreams collapse, institutions fail, loved ones suffer. And through all of it, we must still find a reason to go on living. Those reasons are not always grand, they are often very small. The sound of birds outside a hospital window, the smell of coffee in the morning when you haven't slept, a single deep breath after hours of tears, a moment of laughter when you least expect it, or a cat, quiet and self-contained, willing to share a few seconds of its life with you. These moments cannot solve your problems. They will not cure disease, restore lost years, or answer your prayers. But they remind you that life is not only tragedy, that beauty still exists, that you are still here, that the world, though broken, is also astonishingly rich in fleeting wonders. And it is precisely their fleeting nature that gives them value. When you pet a cat on the street, you step out of your narrative of suffering. For a moment, you don't have to be the person holding everything together. You don't have to fix or solve or know. You simply are, present, breathing, aware of another living being beside you. That presence is healing. There's a discipline in allowing yourself to stop and receive peace. We often push ourselves to be strong at all times, to keep going, to solve everything. But sometimes strength is in allowing yourself to pause, to let go, to acknowledge that you are small in a large and terrifying world, and that's okay. Noticing the cat is an act of resistance against despair. It says, yes, life is full of pain, but it is also full of grace. Noticing that grace, welcoming it, even if only for a moment, is how you continue, how you survive, how you find the will to carry what cannot be put down. And when the time comes, as it will for all of us, when you are in pain or watching someone you love suffer, you may remember a moment like that: a cat, a breeze, a beam of sun across the pavement. You'll remember, that you can still feel something other than grief, that even in tragedy, there are things worth noticing, worth holding on to. And those little things, they are not little. So pet the cat. Pause when life offers you a sliver of peace. Accept it. Don't question it. Don't rush past it. Let it hold you, even briefly. That breath, that second of connection might carry you further than you know.